Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Scorpion's Den, a PlayStation Plus podcast, where the plus means more. I'm your host, Nate, aka Scorp Wild. As always, I want to start off with a little housekeeping. Last week, I ran into a little bit of an audio issue where, mid-topic, I got cut off. This is simply due to the fact that using Share Factory, when you're inserting audio clips in track 2, you're only allowed at a maximum of 15 minutes, and I knew that going in, but typically anything I'd been recording previously, I'd never gone over that 15-minute threshold on any one topic. So to kind of mitigate that situation, kind of smooth everything out, I've just kind of decided I'm going to be using a timer just right on my phone whenever I'm recording a topic and kind of talking about things. That way I can kind of monitor when I'm getting close to that 15-minute mark, find a nice place to pause, and then I'll just start a new clip and lay down another audio track, which seems to be kind of the easiest way to go about it. So that is really the only thing that I have for housekeeping. Hopefully you guys appreciate I did whip up a quick transition clip as well as a quick outro clip. Nothing fancy, nothing major, just, spent a few minutes in Share Factory, grabbed a couple clips from a couple different games, and we're just going to give them a try this week, see how everything goes. So, I think we should just kind of get right into topic 1. Topic 1, like I usually like to do, starting out first topic of the day, I want to talk about what I've been playing this past week. Obviously, as you can see again from the video, Overwatch, like I say, it's just kind of part of my daily routine now. I didn't really play a whole lot of games this week, actually. Had some other things going on and just, kind of didn't get in maybe the time that I wanted to. So, definitely played some Overwatch just because that seems to work out really well for kind of the visual overlay for this podcast. I was still kind of plugging away at Kick and Fennec on Vita, and again, that's just kind of, my Vita sits on my coffee table, and, usually if I'm watching a hockey game, it's really easy to pick that up and knock out a couple levels between periods. So I played a little bit of that. The other game that I played for just about maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes, maybe less, was Psychonauts. And this is a PS2 classic. And it's a game that I definitely missed out on during the PS2 era. It was just one of those games that I don't think I'd really heard anything about back in the day. And started hearing a little bit more about it with the upcoming game that comes out on February 21st for PlayStation VR, which is kind of it's a soft sequel to the original Psychonauts, and it's going to kind of tie in Psychonauts 2, and that is, the title is Psychonauts Into the Rhombus of Ruin. And I pre-ordered this PSVR game, and with that pre-order, I got a free copy of the original Psychonauts, which is, like I said, a PlayStation 2 classic. So, kind of what I want to touch on, actually, in the next topic, and this is kind of a sort of a topic of the week kind of going on, I want to talk about the pre-order culture in the video game industry and give you all my opinion and 2 cents on pre-ordering this day and age and kind of the impact that it has on video games. So I think we should delve right into that and take a little bit of a deeper dive into pre-order culture. Topic 2. pre-order culture in the gaming industry. Just a little quick aside, when we were doing a little introduction to what's going on this week, I did neglect to mention my Road to 1,000 Trophies update. Like I said, I didn't really do a whole lot for gaming this week, so I think I only popped, I want to say 2 trophies, so I'm at 969 trophies total. So I'm not too far off on that 1,000 trophy milestone, but this was a little bit of a slow week. But with that being said, kind of the main topic, this is the only topic that I really have anything to say about this week, is the pre-order culture within the video game industry. So I kind of want to tackle this in a little bit of a pro and con type of deal. So, being a little bit of the optimist that I am, I kind of want to give you my pros for why I think pre-ordering a game can be a good thing. I think that with the PlayStation VR Psychonauts title, I think that's a kind of a prime example. So, with a lot of the VR titles, this is a little bit more of an abbreviated or shortened experience. It's not really not one of those $60 worthy games. Not that I think price really dictates what an experience is worth or what a game is worth. I think that's other more knowledgeable experts in the industry have gone on to say that price should be kind of dictated by the developer and what they think their game is worth. But for instance, if you're a budget gamer or anything like that, this new Psychonauts title for VR is retailing at $19.99, and with PlayStation Plus, you got an extra $2 off that. So I was able to pick up the title for $18 essentially, and then with that, like I said, you get a copy of the original PS2 Classic version of the original Psychonauts, which I had never gotten around to play during the PS2 era. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer, where that's retailing for $9.99 on the PlayStation Store. So you're talking about, essentially 2 games for $18, which, do a little simple math, you're talking about $9 a game, and it's pretty hard to argue, any sort of game for under $10. I think that's kind of a steal if you ask me. So one of the things that I think lends itself as a positive to pre-ordering is when developers or publishers kind of incentivize the pre-order with extras. Oftentimes you'll see it where the publisher will offer, maybe like dynamic themes for the home screen for the PlayStation, or avatars or whatever the case may be. And that's all fine and good. Those things don't tend to entice me because I don't really care about that stuff, for the most part. The one thing that I do really appreciate is when they do tie-ins to another game like this. So this is kind of a good example of, with the original Psychonauts having been, it was made in 2005, it was released, I believe. And so you're talking about a game that is 11 or 12 years old, depending on the time of the year. So, it's a good way to kind of remind people of what the story was about, or, for people like me that just generally I missed out on it the first time around. So it was nice to have them tie that in, and, I was able to, kind of get started on it, and it's just a nice little incentive, and kind of keeps people engaged in what story you're telling and the lore that surrounds your set of characters and the scenario of what's going on. So I can appreciate that, and I definitely think that having another game bundled in as an incentive helps. The upcoming South Park RPG, The Fractured But Whole, unfortunately has been delayed again. I don't think we're going to be seeing that title in 2017. But that's another good example where if you pre-order on the PlayStation Store, they will give you a free copy of The Stick of Truth, which was the first title that released. It was on the very tail end of PS3, and I'd never gotten around to playing it, and I haven't pre-ordered Fractured But Whole, so I do not have The Stick of Truth, but for those that maybe are interested in that, it is available, and they are giving you that first game for free, which, again, it's just a nice little incentive and something that I can appreciate. With that in mind, and just kind of going off of bundling games together, and for me that being the big positive and a big incentive for why I would want to pre-order a title. One of the wish list things that I have is next month we're supposed to be getting an announcement from WB Montreal, which is the studio behind the Batman Arkham Origins game, which was the one title not developed by Rocksteady. And this was between Arkham City and Arkham Knight. Now, it's rumored that they're going to be having a new Batman Arkham title coming out, and I'm obviously very interested about that. The Arkham series is one of my favorite series in games in the PS3 or the PS4 generation. One of the things that would really sell me on pre-ordering the rumored new Batman Arkham title is if they tie in a free version of Batman Arkham Origins that I can download and play on PS4, I'm going to be all about it. That will sell me right there. So, I think that's a good example of how game tie-ins can boost or incentivize, one's rationale for pre-ordering a game. I would be curious to hear maybe what incentivizes you all to pre-order games. Is there anything specific that you're looking for with bundled content, or do you simply pre-order because you have the funds available, or is this a way of maybe showing the developer good faith and just general enthusiasm for their upcoming title? I'd be curious to hear, what are your reasons for pre-ordering? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, so now that we have the pros out of the way, I want to get into the cons of pre-ordering, at least the way that I see it. So for me, the biggest kind of blatant con that there is to pre-ordering, you're essentially giving the developer your money before they've finished the game. And this isn't a new, fresh opinion or anything. It's definitely something that I think resonates with quite a few gamers, especially some of the more hardcore in the industry. Kind of the general rule that I thought was kind of neat that I saw, and I'm sure this isn't original as well, but Boogie on Twitter, was talking about pre-order culture. This was a few weeks back, and he put a tweet out that said basically, always pre-order hardware, never pre-order software. And I think for the most part maybe that holds true. I think a little bit too often these days we see too many developers that they promote a pre-order, trying to get that money coming in the door before the game has even been released, and after X number of people have given them that $60 or whatever they happen to be wanting for the retail price of their game, we see more and more games that kind of come out broken. And I know that in the digital age, patching is a lot more prevalent than, it used to be. There was a time when a game was either broken or not, and that was it, because it was only available physically. So I can appreciate the fact that developers can go back and patch things. Patches are obviously integral to how games are developed and played these days, and I'm not knocking that, but I tend to shy away from, especially developers that maybe have had a track record in the past of taking on a lot of pre-orders, and then when push comes to shove, they put out a game that is, it just doesn't play well, or it's broken, or lacking certain features, or whatever the case may be. I think we're seeing, too many of these types of games that are coming out where they're probably not where they should be when they are released. And, one big way I think we can mitigate that, especially as consumers, is to simply not pre-order games. And I don't think having a rigid ban on pre-ordering altogether is appropriate. Obviously, I kind of outlined what my pros are for wanting to pre-order, and I will do that on occasion. I try to shy away from it, and the big thing for me is I don't want to buy a game that's broken, and I don't think really any of us would want to do that either. So it's definitely a way to speak to the developers as well, by simply not pre-ordering titles. We are holding them accountable for, put out your game and make sure that it's good and it's playable. I mean, that's what we're asking for as consumers. There are definitely plenty of us that don't have a ton of expendable income, and you might only buy 2 or 3 games a year, especially at the $60 price point. You're talking about $180 before any sort of taxes are taken out or anything like that. So you're probably looking at, depending on where you live, closer to $200 for just 3 games in any calendar year. For some people, that's a lot of money. And I think, too often we get sucked into kind of the hype of pre-ordering a game and, being let down or being disappointed, or just having certain functions that just plain old don't work. And there's a real easy way for us to speak out against that, and that's just by simply not pre-ordering. And again, this is not a brand new opinion. I am not going to claim to be the innovator of this, obviously. There are plenty of, industry professionals that are like-minded in this sense, and I think would share this sentiment. And hopefully I just kind of echo that to those of you that are out there listening to this. I would be really curious to hear your guys' reasons for not pre-ordering. Is it something besides just the fact that you don't want a broken game? Are there, reasons why, maybe pre-ordering for you just isn't in the cards? I mean, and again, this kind of speaks to more of our budget gamers out there, which I've been fortunate to not really had to budget what I play. I've generally been able to pick up whatever I've wanted and when I want. But that's definitely, I think I might be in the minority on that. So I'd be curious what your guys' reasons are for not wanting to pre-order. Whether it's budget constraints, or maybe it is just on principle. Maybe you have a kind of a stand of, hey, I wait for reviews and I vote with my wallet, and yeah, I commend you for that. And I try to do that as best I can, and sometimes there are incentives that will sway me, and most of the time I don't really buy into the pre-order culture. But like I said, I don't think it's an all or nothing. I think there are times when it is appropriate, and there are times when it's not appropriate. So, let me know in the comments. Pros, cons. I would love to hear what you all think about the current state of pre-order culture in the video game industry. Well, this has been episode 4 of Scorpion's Den, a PlayStation Plus podcast, where the plus means more. I want to thank you all for watching and or listening. Feel free to hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. Turn on those notifications. That way you know every time I post this podcast. Or every once in a while, I jump onto a live stream, and I don't have a set schedule for that, so the only way you're really gonna know is to turn on those notifications, hit that subscribe button. You guys can follow me on Twitter. I am at Scorp_wild. It is spelled exactly like it sounds. Again, I want to thank everybody for listening/watching. This podcast posts every Friday morning, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Until next time, keep gaming.